So we've known for a while now that Square Enix's plans for the Final Fantasy VII Remake were to release Kingdom Hearts 3, the long-awaited Kingdom Hearts 3, and then focus on the game. Plus, we learned earlier this year that the remake director Tetsuya Nomura said that his keyword for 2019 is 7, obviously referencing Final Fantasy VII Remake. So 2019 seems to be a promising year for this game, finally. And recently, Square Enix held the financial results briefing for their third quarter fiscal year 2019, and with this, we get some information that may allude to something happening with the remake in 2019. And by that, I mean potential for this game coming out. During the briefing, CEO Yosuke Matsuda was asked, what can you tell us about the timeline for your fiscal year 2020 quarter 3 releases? If you're not aware, a fiscal year is a time frame used for budgeting purposes for businesses. Square Enix's fiscal year begins and ends in March every single year, so fiscal year 2020 will begin in April this year, which will place the third quarter of fiscal year 2020 in October to December of this year. Matsuda's reply was, I cannot go into any detail at the moment, but I believe we will be able to make various announcements in the lead up to this year's E3. So Square Enix believes that the third quarter of their fiscal year will have strong sales, and it has something to do with their announcements leading up to and probably at E3 of this year. And there was a rumor going around that the Final Fantasy VII Remake might have a big reveal in April of this year, which would match the time frame of leading up to E3 if this is indeed about the remake. Furthermore, Matsuda was asked, how likely are you to reach your operating income target of 40 to 50 billion yen with the lineup you have planned for fiscal year 2020 third quarter, which is in between $300 and $400 million. Matsuda replied with, we believe operating income of 40 to 50 billion yen will be attainable in fiscal year 2020 quarter 3 with the lineup we currently have planned. But we still see risk of deviating from our target depending on when we release new titles and on how our development efforts progress. So depending on when they release the game, more or less means that not dropping it alongside any other major titles this year. And as of right now, October to December doesn't really have anything. There's like a game coming out from Respawn, a new like Star Wars game, and then there's of course the yearly Call of Duty game. But other than that, there's really nothing competing with whatever this game will be, whatever they plan on releasing at the end of this year. Now, that being said, what game or games could Square Enix drop at the end of this year that they believe would be easily able to make their operating income of 40 to 50 billion yen? The most glaringly obvious, of course, is the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Though the hype has died down over recent years because of the lack of information, when this game drops, it's going to be an insane moneymaker. If you have a monetary goal that you are trying to reach, Final Fantasy VII Remake is absolutely the game that you want to release. The other option is whatever the hell the Avengers project is. This thing got announced over 2 years ago. We literally know nothing about this. We just know that they're working on something related to Avengers and Marvel. Obviously, with those two things attached to the project, it's going to make a ton of money. Is it going to be enough to hit their operating income? I don't know. I just don't know how much this game will make because we don't know anything about it. Now, unless they're just super confident that having an Avengers-related game is going to make them a ton of money, which of course is entirely possible, man. You can't discount how popular the Avengers are. But still, I think with the lack of information surrounding whatever this project is, you got to pretty much lean towards this being about the remake. And the only other option past this, as of right now anyway, is some unannounced game that they're planning on releasing that they believe is going to just sell insanely. Which is not likely and not very typical of Square Enix. I mean, look at this game, for example. Look at Kingdom Hearts 3, that's 13 years. Look at how long we waited for Final Fantasy 15. Like, we're talking about less than a year between announcement and release. I just don't see that happening. And look, if you're doubtful of this, I'm completely on board with it. I get it. I'd be not at all surprised if we didn't see this game in 2019 or even announced or talked about in 2019. But we've known since as far back as 2017 that parts of the Final Fantasy VII Remake were further along at times than Kingdom Hearts 3, which is a game that's already released. And we're still talking about another 8 to 10 months before whatever it is going to release in the third quarter of fiscal year 2020. So I could say with pretty good confidence for once on the channel, we're talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake, I believe we're going to see something this year. Will the game release? I don't know. It's hard to say. We got to remember too that we're not talking about the full game, the full remake from the beginning to end, because we know that this is either going to be episodic or multi-part. So if we were to get something, it's just going to be the first part. And I think that's reasonable given the amount of time they've had to develop it, that maybe we could see the first part this year. But with all of that out of the way, guys, I have to pass off to you. What do you think? We talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of information. We'll have a ton of things linked in the description if you want to read about this stuff yourself. I think at the very least, at the absolute bare minimum, we will get at least a new trailer this year. Probably at E3 or leading up to E3. But what do you guys think? Leave it in the comments below. And if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter at TheDashingDavid. At my Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.